Did you know that by the second week of February, 80% of New Year's resolutions have already been abandoned? 80%. That means most people talking about their big plans right now in January 2026 will stop talking about them in a month. But here's the secret. Sometimes the problem isn't your willpower, it is your vocabulary. When you use the wrong future tense in English, you subconsciously tell your brain and everyone else that you aren't really serious. You might think you're making a promise, but you're actually just making a vague prediction.
That is a bold claim, Lisa. Blaming grammar for skipping the gym. I like it. But you were right. There is a psychological difference between saying I will go and I'm going to go.
Welcome to the podcast, everyone. I'm Lisa.
And I'm Bob. Happy New Year. It is officially 2026. The holidays are over, the decorations are coming down, and now comes the pressure. Everyone you meet, your boss, your friends, your Uber driver, is asking you the same question. What are your plans for this year?
Today, we're going to master the art of answering that question. We'll cover the subtle differences in future tenses, the vocabulary of ambition, and the specific idioms native speakers use to describe their goals. By the end of this series, you won't just know how to talk about your future, you'll sound like you own it. Let's dive straight into the grammar trap.
The battle of will versus going to. This is the number one mistake I hear from non-native speakers when they talk about plans.
Here's the rule of thumb. If you decided to do something before you started speaking, use going to. It implies a plan exists in your head. It's solid. For example, I'm going to learn Spanish this year. That means you've bought the book or you've thought about it seriously.
But if you use will, it often sounds like a spontaneous decision made in the moment. If you say, I will learn Spanish this year, it sounds like you just had the idea right now. It feels less concrete. It's more of a wish or a prediction than a plan.
Exactly. Think of it this way. Will is for predictions and promises. Going to is for plans and intentions. If you want to sound determined about your 2026 goals, stick to going to. Or if you want to sound even more committed, use the present continuous.
Wait, using the present tense to talk about the future? That always confuses people.
It's a power move. If you say, I'm starting a business in June, you're using the present continuous. This implies that the plan is so fixed, so arranged, that it's practically happening already. It's much stronger than I will start a business.
So if I say I'm flying to Paris in May, that means I probably have the tickets.
Precisely. So, listeners, if you want to impress people with your 2026 plans, stop overusing will. Start using going to and the present continuous. Now, let's move away from grammar and talk about the vocabulary of resolutions.
New Year's resolutions, the promises we make to ourselves on January 1st. But Lisa, we often use different verbs when we talk about keeping or breaking them.
We do. You set a resolution, you stick to a resolution, or tragically, you give up on a resolution. A great phrasal verb here is to follow through.
To follow through, that is the key phrase. It means to finish what you started. If you say you're going to run a marathon and you actually run it, you followed through. If you buy the shoes and then sit on the couch, you did not follow through.
Right. And connected to that, we have some beautiful idioms for the new year. My favorite is to turn over a new leaf.
That sounds like gardening.
It actually refers to turning the page of a book. In older English, pages were called leaves. So turning over a new leaf means starting a new chapter in your life. It implies you are going to behave better or differently than you did in the past.
So if I was lazy in 2025, I could say, I'm turning over a new leaf this year. I'm going to be productive.
Exactly. Now, what if your plan involves stopping something bad, like smoking or biting your nails or spending 6 hours a day on social media?
Then you want to kick the habit. To kick it means to force it away. It is a strong active verb. You don't just stop, you fight it.
And if you stop that habit suddenly, completely, and immediately without reducing it slowly, we say you are quitting cold turkey.
Cold turkey. English is weird. Why a turkey and why is it cold?
The origin is debated, but the meaning is clear. If you say, I gave up sugar cold turkey, people know you stopped 100% on day one. It is a very impressive way to describe willpower.
Let's shift gears from personal habits to professional goals. 2026 is a competitive year. If you're talking to your boss or a recruiter, you need specific vocabulary. You're not just looking for something better.
Correct. If you want to move up within your current company, you are seeking a promotion, that is, a higher rank, and usually you want a raise to go with it.
Listeners, pay attention to this word, raise. In American English, a raise is an increase in your salary. In British English, they often call it a pay rise. But in the US, if you ask your boss for a rise, they might look at you confused. You ask for a raise.
Good distinction. Now, Bob, what if you are happy with your job title, but you want to become better at what you do? There's a buzzword that has exploded in popularity over the last few years.
Upskilling.
Yes, upskilling. It sounds very modern. It means learning new skills that are relevant to your current career. For example, I'm planning to upskill in artificial intelligence this year.
It is a great word because it sounds proactive. It shows you are investing in yourself. But what if you're investing in a business outside of your job?
Then you're talking about a side hustle.
The famous side hustle. This term used to be slang, but now it's practically standard corporate English. It's a secondary job that you run yourself to make extra money. Uber, freelance writing, selling crafts online, these are all side hustles.
So you might tell a friend, I'm keeping my day job, but I'm going to launch my side hustle in March. It makes you sound entrepreneurial and ambitious.
However, Lisa, there is a danger to all this upskilling and side hustling, a word that describes the state of having zero energy left.
Burnout.
Exactly. Burnout. It's not just being tired, it's a state of emotional, physical, and mental exhaustion caused by excessive and prolonged stress.
Burnout is serious. So when people talk about their plans for 2026, you hear a lot more focus on mental health than you did 10 years ago. The big buzzword here is work-life balance.
Right. This is the concept of prioritizing your personal life just as much as your job. But Lisa, there's a new term trending in the corporate world.
Work-life integration. I've heard that. It sounds like a trick to make you check emails at dinner, but technically it means blending your work and life seamlessly rather than keeping them in separate boxes. Whichever term you prefer, the goal is to avoid stress, and to do that, you often need to unplug.
To unplug. I love that verb. Literally, it means to pull the cord out of the wall. Metaphorically, it means to disconnect from technology. No emails, no social media, no phone.
You might also hear people say they're going on a digital detox. That is when you voluntarily give up your devices for a set period. So you could say, my plan for August is to take a digital detox for a week.
That sounds terrifying and wonderful at the same time. But what do you do when you unplug? Usually you travel. And 2026 is shaping up to be a huge year for tourism.
Let's talk about travel vocabulary. The most important noun here is the bucket list.
A bucket list is a list of things you want to do before you kick the bucket, which is a slang idiom for dying. So it is your life's ultimate to-do list.
Exactly. You might hear someone say, seeing the northern lights is on my bucket list, or I'm going to take Japan off my bucket list this year.
Tick off or check off. Both work perfectly there. Now, Lisa, are you the kind of person who likes tourist traps, or do you prefer to go off the beaten path?
Oh, definitely off the beaten path.
For our listeners, a tourist trap is a place that is overpriced, crowded, and purely designed to take money from visitors. Think of Times Square in New York, or the overpriced cafes near the Eiffel Tower.
Whereas off the beaten path implies going somewhere remote, unique, and less known. It's where the locals go. If you tell people, I'm planning a trip off the beaten path in Vietnam, you sound like an experienced traveler, not just a tourist.
But sometimes you have itchy feet, but you don't have the money.
Itchy feet. That's a great idiom. It means the strong desire to travel or move. When your feet itch, you want to go somewhere.
But if your bank account says no, you settle for a staycation.
A portmanteau of stay and vacation. This is when you take time off work, but you stay in your own city or home. You act like a tourist in your own town.
Staycations are underrated. You save money and you sleep in your own bed. Speaking of saving money, that brings us to the other massive topic for 2026 plans, finance.
Money. Talking about it can be taboo in some cultures, but in English, especially American English, we're quite open about budgeting. When you create a plan for your money, we say you draw up a budget, but drawing it is easy. The hard part is to stick to it.
Exactly. And to stick to it, you usually have to cut back on something. This is a crucial phrasal verb. To cut back on something means to reduce the amount of something you use or spend. You might say, I'm cutting back on eating out, or I'm cutting back on my coffee addiction.
But life cannot be boring, Bob. Sometimes you have to do the opposite. You have to splurge.
I love that word, to splurge. It sounds like a splash. It means to spend a lot of money freely, usually on a luxury or a treat you don't strictly need.
So, a balanced sentence for your 2026 plans might be, I'm going to cut back on buying clothes so I can splurge on a trip to Italy. See how that works? You save in one area to enjoy another.
And hopefully, you're also saving for a rainy day.
This is a beautiful idiom. A rainy day fund is money you set aside for emergencies, like if your car breaks down or you lose your job. It's different from a nest egg.
Right. A nest egg is usually a large amount of money saved for a long-term goal, specifically retirement. So for 2026, you might plan to build up your nest egg.
Now, let's move away from the bank account and talk about the people in our lives, social plans. In 2026, many people are prioritizing quality time.
Quality time. That means time where you are fully present with someone. No phones, no distractions, just talking. You might say, I want to spend more quality time with my parents this year.
And sometimes that involves reconnecting with old friends. To reconnect means to build a relationship again after a period of distance.
But sadly, the opposite also happens. Sometimes you drift apart.
Drift apart. It is a gentle, sad phrase. It is like two boats slowly floating in different directions on the ocean. You don't fight, you just stop having things in common.
If you realize you have drifted apart from someone, you might decide to cut ties.
Cutting ties is drastic. It means to end a relationship completely. You usually do this with toxic people. So a powerful resolution could be, I'm cutting ties with negative people in 2026.
Let's keep it positive, Bob. Let's talk about how flexible these plans should be, because life is unpredictable. Sometimes you cannot have everything set in stone.
If a plan is set in stone, it is permanent. It cannot be changed, like a carving in a rock. But often you have to play it by ear.
Play it by ear. This comes from music. If you don't have the sheet music, you listen and play what you hear. In life, it means to improvise, to decide as you go along.
So if someone asks, what are you doing for the summer? And you are not sure yet, you can say, I haven't booked anything. I'm going to play it by ear. It makes you sound very relaxed and adaptable.
Adaptability is key. Another great phrase for this is to go with the flow. It means you accept things as they happen without trying to control them.
Going with the flow is great for a weekend trip, but for the massive life decisions, the ones that change your zip code or your last name, you usually need a bit more structure. You need to be ready to take the plunge.
Take the plunge. That is a fantastic idiom. It implies standing on the edge of a high diving board, looking down at the water, and finally jumping. It means committing to a difficult or risky course of action after hesitating.
You might hear someone say, we have been renting for years, but in 2026, we're finally going to take the plunge and buy a house.
And if you are buying a house, especially in the UK or Australia, you'll hear the phrase, get on the property ladder.
Yes, the housing market is viewed as a ladder. You buy a small, cheap apartment first, the bottom rung, so that later you can climb up to a bigger house. So a common plan is, my goal is to get on the property ladder this year.
But maybe you cannot afford a perfect house. Maybe you buy a fixer-upper.
A fixer-upper. This is a house that is in terrible condition but has potential. It needs work. It needs renovation.
If you buy a fixer-upper, your plan for the year will involve a lot of DIY.
Do it yourself. Painting, repairing, building furniture. It's a very popular topic for conversation. I'm doing a lot of DIY on the weekends.
Now, let's talk about the other ways people take the plunge. Relationships. If things are going well, 2026 might be the year you decide to settle down.
Settle down. This suggests stopping a wild or wandering lifestyle and choosing stability. It usually implies getting married, buying a home, and perhaps having children.
And the specific vocabulary for marriage is full of idioms. If you plan to ask someone to marry you, you're going to pop the question.
And if they say yes, you're engaged. Then, when the wedding happens, you tie the knot.
Tie the knot. It's such a visual image. It means getting married. So you might tell your colleagues, I'm tying the knot in June. It sounds casual and friendly, whereas I'm getting married is a bit more formal.
Curious, what if you're already married but things aren't working? What is the vocabulary for the end of that road?
Then you might be filing for divorce, or less legally, you might decide to go your separate ways. That is a polite way to say you are breaking up.
Let's switch to a happier topic, creativity. A lot of people plan to express themselves more in the new year. Maybe they want to write a book or start a podcast like this one.
In that case, you might say you want to channel your creativity. To channel means to direct your energy into a specific place. I am going to channel my frustration into painting.
And if you are starting a new hobby, you often take up something.
Right. I am going to take up photography. I am going to take up yoga. It means to start doing it regularly. Do not say start to do yoga. Say take up yoga. It sounds much more natural.
But Bob, usually people take up too many things and then they get overwhelmed. They realize they have bitten off more than they can chew.
Emphatically. One of the best idioms in the English language, to bite off more than you can chew. It means you took on a task that is too big or too difficult for you to handle.
Exactly. And when you bite off more than you can chew, you choke. That is why for 2026, my advice is to take baby steps.
Baby steps. It's a cute phrase, but it's powerful. It means making very small, slow progress rather than trying to do everything at once. It's the opposite of doing something overnight.
We often say success doesn't happen overnight. It takes time. And while you're taking those baby steps, you have to make sure you don't burn the candle at both ends.
That is a crucial idiom for high achievers. If you burn a candle at both ends, it gives a lot of light, but it disappears very quickly. It refers to someone who wakes up early to work and stays up late to party or work more. You will exhaust yourself.
So, pace yourself. Now, as we wrap up our 2026 planning guide, we have to talk about luck, because no matter how much you plan, you need a little bit of magic.
Absolutely. If you really want something to happen, you might say, I'm keeping my fingers crossed.
Physically, you cross your middle finger over your index finger. It's a universal sign of hoping for good luck. You can say, I have my interview tomorrow, so keep your fingers crossed for me.
And if you talk about your plans going well and you don't want to jinx them, you don't want to invite bad luck by being too arrogant, you do this. Touch wood.
In the US, you say, knock on wood. In the UK, we say, touch wood.
I haven't been sick all year, knock on wood. It's a verbal shield against bad luck.
Reflectively, we've covered so much ground today. We started with the grammar of going to versus will. We moved through the bucket lists of travel, the nest eggs of finance, and the burning out of career stress.
It feels like a lot, but remember, you don't need to use all these idioms tomorrow. Just pick one. Maybe this week, focus on distinguishing career from degree, or try using upskilling in a sentence.
And remember the golden rule we mentioned at the start. The way you speak shapes your reality. If you say, I might do it, you probably won't. If you say, I'm doing it, you're halfway there.
So own your plans. Whether you're taking the plunge and getting married or just kicking the habit of eating too much sugar, say it with confidence.
Thank you so much for joining us on this journey into the future. We hope your 2026 is full of quality time, full rides, and happy coincidences.
And no all-nighters, please. Get some sleep.
Exactly. If you enjoyed this episode, please leave us a review. It really helps us climb the ladder of the podcast charts.
We'll be back next week with more tips to help you sound like a local. Until then, keep practicing and good luck with those resolutions.
See you next time. Bye.
Goodbye.